Hey Switchheads, welcome back, Kanan here. Thank you for joining me for my review of Frontier Quest. And before we get started, why not hit that like and subscribe button? Come and join me, be notified of all my latest content. And with all the housekeeping done, let's take a look at the gameplay. So basically the story is you're a young adventurer and you go out in search of certain artifacts. And with that, may I draw your attention to the map. It's big. You go in many directions, getting harder and harder the further you go. Double. And like any adventure game, there are quests given by NPCs who also can help upgrade your weapons, and this is kind of done from a central hub. And in order to do all these things, you have to collect items to fulfill the upgrade needs, gathering from places and chests that you visit. Once you've upgraded these items, you're able to swap them in tents and the central hub only. And this nicely brings me on to the monsters. They are slightly varied, kind of. And as you actually progress into the game, you kind of notice that they're variations of the same kind of run of creatures. Either blue for cold, red for hot. Well, you kind of get my meaning. Battling, however, is done turn-based, with only a few options, depending on which actual weapons you're using at the time. Each creature can have different types of defenses and attacks, going so far as to say that some of the actual creatures can be immune to weapons, or physical weapons, one might say. And they attack with different things like magic and poisons, and even ones that can duplicate themselves. And this is where your different weapons and armor sets come in handy. You see, you can swap your armors and weapons, as I said before, in those tents. But, for instance, there are armor sets that protect you against magic. And if you're wearing that armor, well, you get protected from the magic side of it, but not from the physical side of it. So essentially you're taking less damage. This does create an interesting kind of arc here. You'll go into a level, find out what creatures there are, come out of that level, swap your armor over, go back in. It all feels a kind of bit, I don't know, weird, and sometimes a little bit unnecessary. The gameplay does get harder as you actually go into the game, but the repeating of creatures and just adding more of the actual creatures kind of almost feels cheap in a way. And I think this whole aspect prevented me playing any further than what I actually got, as interacting with the NPCs and having a few little random quips that you can go back and forth with was okay, and exploring these different areas was okay, but it being side-scrolling, kind of all the same, you had like a run button and a speed up for the battles, it just all felt almost mobile phone-ish, or more developed for the younger clientele that, you know, wants to get into an RPG or something like that, and this is kind of like what they've come up with for them. Graphically, as you can see, it's rather simple. There's nothing really that shines, and everything, as I said, repeats itself. All the backgrounds are different variations of a similar theme or something as you actually go through. The weather is okay, and yeah, it just doesn't spring out or shout out or anything. Yet again, mobile phone-ish. Including the audio, it has the same effect completely. It just, I don't know, has a feeling that it's made for younger people or designed for mobile phones. The good. There are stuff here to do. It is kind of an adventure game. The bad. It just feels like a mobile game. I feel like something's going to ask me to contribute somewhere along the line. and it really didn't inspire me to carry on playing the game. It just had nothing to grip me into it. And for that all-important score that is generated from my own personal experience in this, I'm having to give it a 2 out of 5. It saddens me whenever I have to give a 2 out of 5. And the only reason I do this is because I think some younger people probably or possibly would get some enjoyment out of this. But for grown adults, I think it's just not enough. And as for my alternative, I'm going to be suggesting something nothing like this game whatsoever, and that would be Glyph. A really good kind of puzzler type thing where you play a bug. I played it, I reviewed it, it's a very good game and probably one that you want to be playing more than this one. But as usual, if you have a better suggestion or any comments about Frontier Quest, leave them down in the comments. And that's it, thank you for joining me. Hit that like and subscribe button to be kept up to date with all my latest content, and come join us in the community Discord, because life is better when we switch together.